10 minutes, not 5 minutes, the video came on and the guy was singing it. Now, how did we get to that stage? The reason is simple. Before our music blew, to use our parlance, our focus was here. If you go to a club, you must listen to this Oyibo sound. But after a while, you just found out that it was only our music we were playing. Our target was us. Living in Bondage came, the target was us. All the other movies that they were making, they were targeting us. Then when people now saw that these people, what they are doing is worth the interest, they started coming to us. So when we're developing ourselves, it's personal development. When we're making movie, we should target our place first of all. Then if we're able to get the subscriber, we're able to get the people to look at it. Once you have people looking at it here, it will call the interest. We should not just make, so we want to make it for export purposes. If export comes, fine. If it doesn't come, we have enough people to look at it here. Let's develop our industry here. Let's make our music very good. Let's make people listen to it. If I make a song and 50 million Nigerians get to it, if I make a movie, 40%, 40 million Nigerians get to it, do you know what you make from it? Do you know what, if you have a local TV station, a platform that is local, original to us, disseminating our content to us alone, or even us in diaspora, do you know the impact that it will have on the industry? So there's a need for introspection. There's a need for self-development. I take a cue from India. India, in its development history, shut its doors to foreigners and developed the industry. If you want to come and manufacture, if you want to come and sell your cars in India, you must manufacture it there. They sold to themselves, and that economy grew. So I think we can take a cue from that in the movie industry and the music industry.
Thank you.
I know you have contrary opinions.
I'm about to destroy that, sorry. But that's my brother, but that can't hold, man. Yeah, sorry, I mean, first of all, it's content. All that stuff is gone. You can't regulate anything, you can't ban anything, you can't stop anything. And I'm just telling you, but the point you made, which is valid, is that the biggest market for everybody, for all of us, is our domestic market. That is the number one point. We do not have enough platforms to monetize in our domestic market, okay? If you're looking at cinemas, we don't have enough screens. If you're looking at online SVOD platforms, we don't have enough. Data costs are restricting people being able to push stuff out and aggregate to the volume. The point that Moses is making, which is actually the truth, is regardless of, Oliver knows this as well, if your subs numbers are small in this market, you're not getting big commissions. It's just a fact of life. You're going to get licensing, you will get secondary licensing, you're not going to get any premium numbers simply because you're just not doing the numbers on their platform. It's not an emotional decision, it's just a fact. No matter how well Lionheart did, he didn't do the numbers of, trust me, one random film that none of us have watched, simply because we're not enough on the platform. It's nothing to do, if Nigerians are really that emotional about it, let's have 10 million Nigerians subscribing to Netflix. But actually our economy cannot justify that. So I think that the key thing is to really understand, the key point that Mina has made, which is the point that all of us need to understand, is our domestic market is still at a very early stage of development. We don't actually have the platforms. Mr. Easy, or even the Spotify numbers we were talking about the other day, it started because Charles made a comment that he said something in that Filmic group about, does anybody even do 100,000 streams? And Jazzy dropped just one thing off Spotify to show 24 million streams in 2018, just from one of the smaller artists. And then we saw that, the biggest artist was Davido with 250 million streams in 2018, right? Now, Mr. Easy made a point to the Bankers Committee last year, which is one of the reasons why the CBN fund even exists. And all the bank MDs started getting excited and running up. And he said, oh, Spotify paid me $2 million last year. But Spotify is not available in Nigeria. So imagine there's 150 million people who could potentially be on Spotify or something like Spotify, right? So all the bank MDs are like, oh my God, I can have my own Spotify. But guess what? It doesn't work like that. Every major multinational in the last 20 years has thought they could own the music industry. None of them could. They got disrupted by people who came out of bedrooms with Spotify, with other things of this nature. So the lesson for this should be that innovation and disruption will not come from the big corporations. It will come from entrepreneurs, individuals, some of the kind of people in this room, risk takers, who will build the platforms that will monetize this industry. Because it's all going to be around our phones, it's going to be about data, it's about policy, and it's about the content. And I don't actually agree with what Thingman said about make your content just for this audience here. I think there are many stratified audiences in Nigeria. You know, some people talk about the mass market, the Asaba market, the cinema market. The truth of the matter is, if you make good content, it's going to travel. And content has no borders. You know, like music does not need a visa to travel. It's the same thing with content. It doesn't need a visa. It's going to be, the minute it's live, it's everywhere. And if your content is hot, it will be hot everywhere. And if you get hot in New York or Atlanta, what Mina missed out is that the music didn't get hot globally by accident. Some of us walked around the world for 10 years, convincing and begging people to play the music, pushing DJs, pushing brands, pushing broadcasters. It cannot happen just with the artist. That is the mistake anybody that looks from outside is thinking. It is not just the artist making a hot song that gets you to blow, as they say. It's got very little to do with that. That is the luck part. The work is the work you don't see. You know, the same way that Uzo is here, the same way that Oliver is here, the same way that a music video, knows, a music video will take 3 days of shooting, 3 weeks of post-production for your 3.5 minute video, and everybody's yapping your video like, They don't know you just died. You just spent, when you guys are busy talking about the Nollywood budgets, we just spent that for one song, on one video. And that, trust me, there's no payback. No, there's no payback, it's pure risk. And you could be thinking in your studio, I've got the hottest record in the world, the hottest video, put it out.
Alright, sorry, I need to leave soon. I have to put it on record that a lot of those points I gave is not what I made up. It's what I've been told. I need to let everyone know, as much as we distribute and we add value to industry, we also make some of this content, and we will not allow ourselves to be pushed around because Netflix came to town. As a matter of fact, we said no to them for 2 years. I don't know whether anybody knows that. We said no to them for 2 years. And in fact, the numbers that they gave before were, I felt, insulting, you know, to the industry. But when you also have data thrown back at you, you know, you then take on the challenge that we can make this thing work. We're starting from a low base, we can make this thing work. We know that we have the market here, and we're talking about low numbers. So for example, South Africa has 1 million subscribers, just about, on Netflix. If Nigeria got to 500K, I can tell you, there is going to be a few originals lined up for 2020, easy.
Okay.
So I just wanted to just put that out there, that it's just, these are just the facts that we need to be equipped, we need to be informed as filmmakers, so that also one key thing is so that we're not also criticizing from a place of ignorance. We criticize, we put on social media, then it becomes, why do we need to work with Nigerian filmmakers? Let's go and look at for commissions in Turkey. Let's go to India, where they can easily grow subscribers by, they said, 100 million subscribers. So we need to be guarded and tactful about how we also address these issues and let our content do the talking and try and grow the market.
Okay.
So we need to run this session up in the next
This session is running up now with this question. So because you are disappearing in a few seconds, let me just throw it in. But not you are the come to, really. So your business is responsible for exposing our film. So I don't know whether it is you that I should direct this to, or the distributors. Whose responsibility is this to, beyond screening your films in your cinemas, also tap into iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, do you usually take your clients, and I mean the producers now who come to screen your film, take them through all these various opportunities that exist beyond screening the films? So that's A. Now, I think Oliver needs to come onto the mic because I was interested in what he was about concerning what Netflix is looking for. Do they really do they identify boundaries when, for instance, they say 200,000 Nigerians have Netflix subscriptions? Some people are in England, some people are in the US, in South Africa, in Australia, and they are Nigerians. So does that account to the base for Nigeria? I don't know, so that's what I'm asking. Because, for instance, it could help for them to begin to say, all right, these guys have large numbers, so it definitely should qualify for engineering original films. Now, and I close by saying, I have always been of the opinion, and this is from many years, that once you make a good film, you can interpret it in so many ways, what a good film is. But I wonder what you guys call a good film. So, but maybe I think I know what a good film is to me, but what my good film is, does it translate to what a general good film is? Because I believe that Nollywood succeeded predominantly, it became so phenomenal because we were able to tell stories that our people could identify with, our people could touch, our people could enjoy. And over time, these things were able to be appreciated by others. Because, in just rounding up, I think the biggest filmmakers in the world, I don't know whether they stand up to say, I want to make an international film. What is an international film? So I think big filmmakers make films, and the film is so successful within their environment, and it had capacity to travel. And then the people outside that base begin to look at it, and then it becomes something international. So how do you even define, how do you interpret what can become a big and international film?
Right. So yeah. So I really need to go in 2-3 minutes. I'll answer the first two questions. The third question is very subjective. I don't know how to answer that one. The first question about other platforms. That's what we do, and we pride ourselves doing. Those that know me growing up in the UK, that's what I've always been about. Losing money doing that, to find out more channels, more platforms for Nigerian films to do well. My point is how here Mr. Akinsalami built a number of channels in the UK. A lot of them, just about breaking even, just to give platforms. All right. So we've been doing this, and yes, sir, we take people through the paces. So when I talk about airlines, when I talk about VOD platforms, when I talk about TV stations in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, it's something that we do, and we continue to do and have those conversations. And we're trying to break new bounds on it. On the second point on Netflix treats every subscriber the same. The subscriber in Nigeria and the subscriber in Turkey or in the US, one subscriber is one subscriber. But what is pertinent to them, and I repeat again, is the subscriber base in the primary market. Particularly when they're coming to acquire and when they're coming to do original content. That is why, as much as we're strong in diaspora, there are 22 million Nigerians in diaspora, 5 million in the UK and US. Yes, you can almost argue that a number of them would have Netflix subscriptions. Unfortunately, they count as subscribers in the US and in the UK. They don't count as your primary market subscribers. It took me a while, Mr. Oliver, trust me, I'm with you. It took me a while to accept that. Like, you can't tell me Wedding Party didn't do well. I see the rating. You can't tell me, Chief Daddy hasn't done well. By the way, they said Chief Daddy has done well. Lionheart has done well. But again, the primary market statistics is not strong. But what does that mean? They won't give you the analytics now. So look, I think we can have intellectual conversation about this. But these are the people, and this is what. But look, let's look beyond that. It's not only Netflix that's going to come to town. There's Amazon. There's all these guys. It's about being prepared, knowing what they want, doing our best as filmmakers to put ourselves in the best position to have our content, licensed for proper value. All right, and everything works. The cinemas, the way you also monetize your content is very, very important in that space. On the third question, sir, I don't know what is a good film. I don't know. Some people saw thought vendor was not a good film. He had $150,000. Some people saw Ghost and the Tout. Somebody called me, a filmmaker called me, saw Ghost and the Tout. How did you put that in your cinemas? It made $200,000. It was made for $15,000, $20,000. you know, in your primary market. I don't know what else is good. Those films have made Netflix, by the way. You know, so it's you know, there's a Kannywood film that probably shot for 2-3 million, made about 3.5 million in one cinema in Kano. You know, so all these things are very subjective. I'll tend to use maybe marketable films. Michael, I don't know, what's your cinema owner? I like, look, it's tough for me to say in a room full of filmmakers what is good and what is bad. You know, it's a tough one. It's always evolving. And the way Nigeria is also split up. So Kunle Afolayan's film is 90% Yoruba, but it's been top-grossing film until Bling Lagosians came, you know, and released majorly in 18 cinemas. So it's really, I would just say, like Mr. Emeka ended his presentation, make entertaining content, and the audience would respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moses. Thank you very much, Amen. We'll go for what I'll call probably the last session, so we'll have to do it in a panel kind of. We need one more chair here, if you don't mind. There's no break because this place is booked for. If you want to go and pee, you can go and pee for. So everybody wants to do a break. Okay, 5 minutes break then. There are popcorns outside there, popcorns and you know. So let's have a 10-minute break, and we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen.
So I think as we continue to have the conversation, sorry, I'm happy to take questions. A few things just keep, you know, coming. And the point again is the power of the diaspora. I think that that's something that if we don't know, the diaspora has helped a lot popularize Afrobeats, you know, and the acceptance. Dare I say, Mr. Obiapsika, I don't know, dare I say, validate, you know, Afrobeats. I mean, we had something here on the continent, but the way it's being consumed and accepted, you know, beyond the shores of Africa, you know, I think it's a further validation. That's going on with the, it also goes on to the film side. A lot of the spikes we're seeing is happening in the UK, in Canada, in the US, in South Africa. You know, for example, the English-speaking territories. You know, we're seeing a lot of activity in there.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Comment on that, then
I think MM just sort of touched on it
You need to stand.
briefly. I have to stand?
Yes.
Oh. Apologies. Good morning. I think MM touched on it briefly when she talked about Beyonce and the Lion King. And, you know, it's funny because I was having a conversation with somebody and they were like, oh, she just woke up and did it. I said, no, she didn't. It's a 10-year journey for her. And the truth of the matter is, what Beyonce has done is something that Afrobeats could not afford to do. Those of us who have been in the music business understand that we don't have the $10-50 million required to break America. And she just blew that all out the window with this singular action. And it brings me to the same point I've always believed about Nollywood. I do not believe that if Nollywood wants to globalize properly, Nollywood should be going through the black Americans. It's not the random diaspora, it's not even just the Africans, it's the black Americans. Because they have been living there, they're in it, they have gone through the struggles of getting capital, they're still going through it today, and they are the ones who are aligned to our story. And when we bridge that particular gap, I think you will find that Nollywood itself will do much bigger, be much better. Because when Uzo always says this thing about looking beyond the Nigerian box office. There are 15 major cities in America that are black majority population. I don't see why you make a movie and you don't think Miami, Atlanta, Houston, DC, Maryland, London, Kingston, Jamaica, because all these people are black and they're going to watch your content. But your content has to hit a particular level. You have to be telling a story that is a global story. It doesn't mean the story could be in Onitsha, but it's still global because everybody goes through the same things. So I think the thing is, we are the ones that have always been our own problem because we do not actually engage our own people. I still see the Nollywood guys running after random white people. I have no idea why.
Thank you.
All right, same thing on adding value. Referencing the inflow with Netflix and the last meeting we had, I came there in place. Yeah, the same thing I need to reiterate again with the value system in the market space and how we value ourselves with when people now begin to come in to try to procure or get our content and how we see. You know, everybody is wanting to be on Netflix, everybody is wanting to get on Amazon or the likes. We have reps, and one of the things we will ask now are those who are responsible for talking for and on behalf of us, and what's the value being given out there on our behalf, especially if you don't know the need to have Mr. Mena Jacovi to go through your documents to advise you specifically on what to sign off, because it's actually very tedious, and then you end up just going to the end of it and just signing off. And having been with, you know, how they were structured to make their contract, and sometimes only one person I know who really did ask questions, and that was Charles Novia, when they had interaction with African Magic, and then what normally people would just sign off. He did not sign off. He kept asking certain questions, and he got what he wanted because he asked those questions, and they were. So going back to some Q&A with Netflix and co, I've observed, and I said this every time, I will say it again, how we have the penchant to always cheat ourselves, you know, with the value system of what we know, right? So if there's a value chain going around for, say, 20 Naira for a content, and the people know that across board it's 20 Naira, they might be coming with 25 Naira. And when they come with 25 Naira, your representatives will go and say 5 Naira. And that 5 Naira is what they will save 20 Naira anyway for themselves. And maybe your rep will also have a bite of that 20 Naira. And once they institutionalize that 5 Naira, it goes everywhere. So with the people coming to value our content, with Oga Emeka said about our content being digital, and you know, even Monkey one banana stood and this person. So while we're trying to look for the quality of how me now, Charles, with a bohemian way to doing things, we want to do the coloring, we want to do, yeah. But the key thing is, what's the value? How are we asking for what is due us? Because there's a market here. And if we do not know that, if we don't get that benchmark, because if you start from 10 Naira, it is hard to go 600 Naira. You understand me? So that's me. I'm just saying that the Moses them, they know. And the more we do this, the more we get to know that if you're giving out to them, we must have an idea what the value is and what they or whoever is going to be representing this, our African market, is what's the value system juxtaposed with other values, so that the benchmark is always good for us anytime we start these things. And we go say, okay, that's what I want to say. Thank you.